Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of Midwest Multifamily. We're here to be your resource for everything in development, construction, and management of multifamily buildings. I'm here today with Ryan Nelson, the founder of P&R Companies, and we're going to go through how we got here, what we did, and the history of P&R on our very first podcast. So we're excited. Ryan, thanks for being here today with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to start this journey. Podcasting's been something that has brought me a lot of education and done a lot of good things for me. So it's important that we bring that back to other people and help other people as we go. So good to get the rust out of the wheels here and get things going on our first one. So
Well, I think it's great. I'll ask our audience to bear with us as we get good at this because, one thing I've learned in my research of podcasts is you're probably not going to be great at first, but we're going to give it a shot, right?
yeah,
And so, the way we plan to be different for the audience as an introduction here is it's hard to find a podcast that actually demonstrates how to build these multifamily units. There's a lot of multifamily resources out there. And I'm sure, Ryan, you've listened to a bunch of them. I've listened to them myself, and they're absolutely fantastic and a wealth of knowledge. But you don't see a lot of developers that know how to build it from the ground up. So I'd like to call today episode 1 the foundation. Essentially, every building starts with a foundation, and we're going to start talking about why we're here, how P&R got here. P&R is Pete and Ryan. R is sitting with us today, one of the founding members, and so we'd like to talk a little bit about how we got here, how the company started, because this story is absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to introduce myself just a little bit because I'm a small part of this, but our guest today, Ryan, is what he's done with his career is just absolutely fantastic. I'm in awe of it. I think it's one of the coolest stories I've ever heard, and we're going to give the audience that. And as we lay that foundation, our episodes to come are going to be pretty fun to hear more specific things on what you get into as you think about podcast, or what you think about as potentially building, and the things that we can help you with so that you can maybe not make some of the same mistakes we did along the way. So my name is Dante Tomasoni. I joined P&R about 3 years ago. I have a bachelor's in economics. I have a strong business development background, a real estate law background, and I'm here as our chief operating officer and brand new podcast host because apparently I talk too much around the office. So that's how I got this gig. And so what I did was, I sat down with Pete and Ryan for a cup of coffee a couple mornings. We started at 6:30 in the morning, and before we knew it, we were talking about, hey, Pete and Ryan got so busy building these buildings that they felt like they needed somebody to kind of help get out ahead. And so we had that conversation. I had a few resources, and I could kind of slide in to help with some of the legal work, so it kind of limited my cost to the company. And we took off. And these guys had faith in me, and I sat down and I looked them right in the eye and knew that the very worst this entrepreneurial career move for me would have, at the very worst, I have 2 good people that I get to work with. And so when you can default to the fact that the leadership of your company are genuinely good people, I got excited to join the company, and I got Ryan here today to tell the story. So I'm here with Ryan Nelson, the founder of P&R, and a little short history right now on P&R is Ryan has built in the last 9 years, right, 8 to 9 years, about 700 Class A units in what we call the Twin Ports of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and he started this company along with his partner Pete, and they did it from the ground up. So Ryan, I'd like to take our listeners back to the beginning, where you started right out of high school, and if you even want to, for the listeners, we're sitting in a building that P&R built that's across from Ryan, one of his childhood homes, which is a small apartment above a retail shop across the street, which is really, really cool to show you where he came from, how he earned what he's doing, and why that's important. So, Ryan, start from wherever you want to start, whether it's, how you grew up or the start of P&R.
Yeah, so thanks, Dante. I grew up in Superior, I was born and raised here. Still live just 5 miles out of Superior, but still in the area. Have a lot of pride and a lot of commitment to this area. Um, Love to see the development of the whole Twin Ports. We've taken a lot of attention to this area just because it's in such need. So that's one of the reasons. The passion's there is because we're changing the community. Like we're not going to a community that uh, where we have a lot of competition and there's a lot of people that were there before us. We're kind of breaking the ice in something that I feel needed to be done a long time ago, and we're able to do it. So it's important to us.
See, so that's really cool for me because as we listen to all these other podcasts, a lot of people talk about passion, and talk a little bit about that passion because Superior, Wisconsin wasn't this high growth spot that you picked. I mean, there's probably something in here for you on developing this community, isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, taking a community that you're born and raised in and seeing the differences you can make and how it can be better. I don't think there's anything better that you can get at the end of the day or, at the end of your career that you made a difference in a lot of people's lives. So it's very important for us. But, on the business side of it, a lot of people say the area is the first thing that you need to consider when you're making an investment. And I agree with that. And to the area, what we feed off of is one of the biggest freshwater lakes in the world. So we have that going for us. We also have a lot of the um, protections from a lot of the storms and a lot of the things that happen. Of course, we got cold weather up here, but people enjoy the outdoors. They love living around this area, and there's a lot of good folks around here. So to be able to deliver a product that has never been delivered here is great.
So we have this setting, right? You grew up in Superior. It's for a lot of people that don't know, Superior is for a long time has kind of been like the little brother to Duluth for the longest time economically. And you got a passion for this town. You grew up here. We've set this setting. We're right on Lake Superior. It's a great community. It's got a good industry. And Ryan grew up here. And so there's this passion you have for this area. Now, you started as a plumber. How did how did you spend a couple of years as a plumber? What did you learn doing that trade?
So yeah, back it up, I guess, a little further than that. I went to high school here in Superior. I graduated from Superior. We we had this shop class at the time, and we'd work on cars and things like that. I think most high schools have the opportunity for kids to be able to do that. But we had gotten to the point where I was at the beginning of my senior year, and people were trying to get scholarships and things like that, and I had applied for a scholarship that this cat manufacturer was giving out for heavy equipment technicians, and I had applied for it and ended up receiving the scholarship. So I ended up going to a heavy equipment school in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. So that'd been the first time I really traveled out of Superior, and
How far is Sturgeon Bay from here?
it's about 6 hours. It's kind of on the point where Lake Michigan is, where Wisconsin is at point.
So you left
On
home
the
for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a drive. Yeah.
So went down there. I liked mechanics. Thought that was something that I had a lot of interest in. Went down there for a year, went to tech school, found out that that really wasn't the place I wanted to live nor continue to do school there. So came back to the area here, was able to transfer into a tech school here and finish my diesel heavy technician program and graduate in 2001.
So you were actually a heavy machinery mechanic, basically. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. So yeah. So then you switched industries. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and this story, I mean, really, the second year I was in tech school, we'd eat lunch up in this mezzanine in our in this pole building that we had that we'd work on the trucks in, and there's a mezzanine with a lunchroom up there, and we had some people there that were working on some of the plumbing and the HVAC work, up in a lift. And my instructor had always, been complaining about their work environment and how much more money they made than us, and how much better of a living they had, and it wasn't fair. And thinking to myself, man, I'm 19 years old. I'm working underneath trucks every day, and you got dead animals and whatever else
Oil
underneath
squirting in your
them
face.
things, and you got snow dripping on you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, my instructor's got he's got one eye and a bum arm, and I'm
Oh.
like, bad knee, and I'm like, is that really what I want to do? And it was kind of the moment where I thought to myself, this probably isn't what I want to do. And I kind of knew that going up to that point, but that was definitely the point where I was like, I seen opportunity. So the opportunity is I could have a better living, make more money, have better benefits, and have a better retirement.
No dead animals falling on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. So there's lesson one, environmental awareness of your profession.
Yeah.
And so
So that was kind of like the first thing to me recognizing that there's more opportunities. It's just, where do you stop? Is whenever you want to stop is really what it is. So that was my next move. So at that point,
so that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt you quick here, but what's interesting is now working with you for the last 2.5 years, you're always kind of doing that. Now looking back at it, was that kind of that lesson like, hey, there's something else you can just go get? Do you feel like that's always been a part of you?
Yeah, I feel like I have a hard time staying in something that I feel like I know a lot about. I feel like once I've learned the amount that I'm okay with, and I feel like I'm to the point where I can move on to the next thing, and I have the capacity to learn more, then that's what I want to do.
Because I feel like that, talking to other entrepreneurs and people like yourself, it seems to be this trait that you're always reaching, and not having that sense of I'm settled. And I feel like that's a big part of you, and part of something that reaches out. And so, a lot of people don't know if they have that or if they don't have it. But what I'm hearing from you is like, if you see it, you can grab it, and you just have to reach. Is that kind of something you could tell people that are thinking about doing the same thing?
Yeah, I think that if anybody is doing something today and you don't see yourself being able to do it, I think that's wrong. I think you can do anything that you want to do. And
that's a great lesson. That is. All right, so let's back up. Now you realize you don't like dead animals on your head, snow falling on your face, oil in your mouth, and you can get a better living. So what happened next?
yeah, not to say that's not a good opportunity for
That's
somebody
true.
to do in their life.
That's true.
Like,
We shouldn't knock
but
the profession.
you just have to be okay with them
Yeah.
things, and if that's what you want to do, then that's where you stay. But that's definitely not what I wanted to do.
Wasn't for you. Yep.
So from that point, I had my stepdad had worked in a manufacturing facility that had to do with the trades, and it was in the pipe fitting industry. But we had plumbers and pipe fitters in the area. That's a combined local unions up here are pretty strong, So them are the best paying jobs around here for the trades. And so I had asked my dad, I said, hey, can you give me a job? And he said, well, you're going to school. And I said, well, I know, but you work afternoons. Like, I'll start at 4 PM. I'll work till midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, you think you can do that and go to school? I said, well, I'm going to give it a shot. I said, because this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
I got 6 months left of school, and I'd rather start my career that I think that I want to do today rather than put it on pause for 6 months. So he ended up helping me, get into that manufacturing facility, which, got me kind of some credit to being able to apply for the apprenticeship and the plumbers and pipe fitters. So started there a few weeks after I talked to him. Went to school during the day, worked in the afternoons. So essentially, slept for 6 hours a day and went to school and worked the other, whatever that is, 18 hours. So
So work
that's what I
hard.
did.
That's I gave a speech to some young college students the other day, and I kind of gave them some off the cuff, 3 lessons about life, and I said, if you do number one, you'll be okay. I mean, pick your direction and go. It doesn't have to be right off the beginning. And then I said, but the sooner you get focused, the better the faster you're going to find things. And then I wrote down number three, work hard. I said, if you don't have three, you're not going to get one or two. They're not going to do you any good. And so, but I think this lesson is a level of work that's pretty dang impressive. I mean, going to school all day, working until midnight, and going through it. And that's another trait I found. I have two things that I've noticed about you that I just pulled from that is that one, when you see you're going to do something, you just do it. You don't think about it. I mean, you think about it, but it's like it's time to do it. It's time to get into action. And then the other one is, you have a tireless work ethic, and these are parts of things that if you want to make your company happen, it's not just passive income. It's working. It really is. So let's go back. So now you got into the trades. A little background information before we talk about the trades. For the listeners, we live in a very heavy union and trade environment. We have very skilled carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and it's a big part of the industry. It's provided a good living and a good quality of life for people, and a lot of education and jobs in this area. And so you're going to know about our demographic, and that's part of it, and that's part of how the state of Minnesota in this area operates. And so they gave you that opportunity to learn the trade, get into it, and so now you're working. How many years did you work in that trade then?
So got accepted into the apprenticeship in 2003, I believe. So it started, I was on my way up to International Falls, getting ready to go to Canada. I tried a couple years of getting into the apprenticeship. At that time, it was very tough to get into the apprenticeship. The plumbers and pipe fitters, it was kind of one of the things where if you didn't have a family member or know somebody really good, it was tough. But they did operate off of a point system also. So my college background did help me. My work, the spot that I was working at, the manufacturing facility had the same trades guys working within that facility, so that helped that I was working in that environment. But it was still tough. It took 2 years of applying to get in the apprenticeship. And like I said, I was driving up with my cousin to go on a fishing trip, and remember that being one of the best days of my life. Getting a phone call saying I was accepted into the apprenticeship of the trade, the plumbers and pipe fitters. It's important. Is just a huge milestone for me in my life, because at that time, like, that was the job to have. Like, that was a career that was going to take you to places that I wanted to go. And so, got accepted into the apprenticeship. Didn't know nothing about plumbing. Like, I remember working with a journeyman, call it, in the first week or two, and he was gluing up some pipe, and I asked him what it was for. Like, what are you doing? What's the process? And he said, "What do you mean you don't know anything about this stuff?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, how did you know you wanted to do it?" I said, "Well, I heard it paid good money and had good benefits, and had some interest in it, but it's mostly for the pay and the benefits
Yeah.
and where it was going to take me in life." And I ended up, having a lot of passion for it. And I'm glad that it was the trade that I picked, because I feel like it's one of the most advanced um, trades that allow you to take your thoughts to no limits. I mean, everything about the future is about efficiency and how you can make that through the plumbing and HVAC is
That's
no
totally,
end.
yeah, that's totally not uncommon for anybody. I mean, I think anybody graduating college, they take their first job because well, I think I can get some good pay. And, I mean, some people are pretty focused, but, I think I get some good pay. It seems like a good career, seemed like a good idea at the time. So, for a young man, that's, that's not uncommon. I mean, that was what you're exposed to, and a good start. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, started plumbing, struggled really for, the first year. I had times where, I'd be working with the journeyman and asking him, "What are we doing next?" And he'd just be like, "We're gonna do the same thing that we just did 20 times over and over." I'm like, "Oh, man, am I ever gonna get this or what?" Like, I'm not catching on to this stuff, and, I think it was just I was so young that my brain was in different spots, and
Yeah,
I really wasn't in career-driven mode yet.
yeah.
So, um but it came quick. So, call it my 3rd year, I felt like, I got laid off from a company in my 2nd year, so I kinda realized that you don't just go to work for one company and stay there, and that time, things they were tougher than they are today, just because there was more competition and there was more workers available at that time. So, I'd gotten laid off from the company and thought, "Wow, this is crazy," I don't
I
have a
gotta
job.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm laid off, I'm on unemployment, but that's kinda what, the trades have always been about, is
Cyclical.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're lucky. When I was in the beginning in the trades, I'd say you're lucky if you're working 9, 10 months out of the year.
Wow.
And that's what, unemployment was for the trades, is to be able to ride them 2 or 3 months. And, so then, I
And
got
nowadays they can work
yeah, no,
overtime for
it's
for
unlimited.
365 days a year if they want, right? Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that gets better,
Yeah, that's
over
so if
time.
anybody ever listens to us and you don't know what to do, we need a lot of tradespeople out there, by the way. We need skilled tradespeople. So it's good. It's the crux of this industry.
So, I had left the one company, got laid off from them, started with the other company, Stone Mechanical at the time, which was it was kinda where it started everything really, because, going to I'm in the apprenticeship program. We're going to school after work. So we go to school, like 8 hours a week. We work 40 hours a week. So a night school, 2 to 3 nights a week. And, that's where, I met my business partner
And you're still how
today,
old at this time? Are you 20, 21, 22, you think?
21.
Okay.
So
Yeah, still
21
young.
at that time, and,
And where are you living? You're living in Superior?
living in Superior, yep.
Yeah.
Lived out, in a trailer park out, the east side of town, and
So you're in a trailer park just grinding away
yep,
every day. Yeah.
yeah,
Just laying your head at night and okay.
wanted home ownership instead
Yeah.
of renting, and that's where I was at that time in my life.
Okay.
So I felt like I was doing myself better by doing that.
Yeah. And that's when you ran into Pete,
Yep.
the P and
So
P&R.
yeah, me and Pete started apprenticeship together. You know, so we started in 2002. I believe it's 2002. But anyways, didn't really have a strong relationship at that point because we were all, we were at a class of like 15 guys. So it was hard to know who you were gonna form a relationship with at that time. But then I ended up getting laid off from the first company, working for Stout Mechanical after that. And Pete had worked for Stout Mechanical. And at that time, we had about 80 guys working for us. And me and Pete were, in our 3rd year apprenticeship and kind of starting to shine in a way for the company and show that we had a lot of interest in what we were doing. And our goal was to try to do the best we could for our employer and for ourselves. It was all about the better we could do, like the more job security we had, and the more places we could go.
So were you guys on jobs directly together, working together, or
So initially, when I first went to Stout, we worked on separate jobs, and we we both worked on multifamily. So throughout the apprenticeship, ever since the beginning, like is where we started working on multifamily housing. There was a lot of senior housing projects going on at the time, and there's just a lot of things going on for multifamily in the area in the early 2000s. So we had worked on separate jobs, but then at one point we had worked on a job together a little bit, got to know each other, started talking more in school. Um, then our boss actually took us to the side and asked us if we wanted to start running work. And at that time, I was like, we're gonna run jobs, you know, we're gonna have crews working for us,
Yeah.
and we're both really excited. But the bad thing was is we didn't have a plumbing license yet.
And you're
So
running the show.
yeah, so no plumbing license. It's like, yeah, we'll run the jobs, you know. So we started out on we had 2 buildings on this property. It was a 41 unit building, a 47 unit building, and 15 townhomes. And we each took a building, and we did really good at it.
Did you race?
Yeah, we were racing for sure. Yep. So there was job soups there that they each had a building. Me and Pete were both on a building, and we kind of did the best we could. And
Hey, Pete told me the number one rule of plumbing the other day. I thought it was good. What is it? Shit flows downhill. Is that?
Yeah.
Just
Paydays
remember
on
that.
Friday,
You'll be okay. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we ended up finding a couple licensed people to come on the job and cover that side of it, and we ran the job. So it was fun though. That was the time that you got to see what you could do to make a difference.
Yeah.
We get to take the knowledge that we had gotten up until that point, and then also bring our own innovation in and deliver a product, you know, hopefully a better quality and at a faster delivery date than others had done in the past. So that was our goal, was to try to make it as successful as we could.
So, and today, despite no licenses, those buildings still aren't leaking, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
No, they're still as good as far as I know. But yeah, we took a lot of pride in what we did. And
so you guys were like plumbing Mozarts, I guess.
Yeah.
Prodigies. Yeah. But grabbing that last word you said, innovation. Now that's something that I've heard from you a lot, working with you too as well. And so you found out kind of at a young age that there's sometimes better ways to do things, and when you can find that, lean into it, right? I mean, innovation is another. It seems like that's kind of become part of one of your tenant philosophies as well.
Yeah, I think once you're done being innovative, you're done. And I think innovation is just always going to be the future, and we will never be stuck in one spot or get to one point and be like, this is the product we deliver. We will always try to deliver a better product on every job or every project that we do.
So there's a fun tangent on that now, at playing devil's advocate. Some people say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, how do you find that balance between innovation and what works?
There is
It's kind of an art more than
Yeah.
science, isn't it? Yeah.
you could say that you got it to a point where you can't take it any further.
Like
But
pipes
then
still
all of a
go
sudden,
together, right?
then all of a sudden they bring a new tool out or
Yeah.
whatever it is. You're always looking for the thing that's going to take you to the next level. So at some point, yeah, you can only do it with what you have to work with. But as soon as you get new things to work with, I think you
Yeah.
can take it to the next level.
Take the opportunity. Yeah, innovation is one of those things over history they've always had. I mean, when if Henry Ford would have asked the public what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. That's a
Yeah.
famous line, So
Yeah.
so eventually you could find it somewhere. All right. So you and Pete are getting to know each other. I think what you're conveying, you're finding these qualities in this new friend of yours, right?
Yeah.
He's got work ethic. He's sharp. He takes pride in his work, and you both are kind of showing those same things. And so now you've both got in the multifamily industry, but you didn't start a multifamily company when you met Pete. So that now the two of you have worked together for some time. You found these qualities in this guy. What lent you to make that jump into starting your own shop?
So we both worked. We ended up working for this company that at that time where we started working together. We probably worked about 5 years for the company, and we had both ran our own jobs mostly. We didn't work together, but we'd do a lot of work after work together, doing stuff for people on their houses and things like that. So
Also, it's not beers.
no,
Okay.
no, it was
It's
a lot of
actual
work. Yeah, we were workaholics, I guess. So
Yeah.
we'd have a couple beers too, though.
Yeah, every now
on
and
the,
then. Yeah.
on the way home.
So you're working 8 hours on the job site, and then you're going to do side jobs too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Outstanding.
We would we'd probably put 8 in at work and 5 or 6 every night, or
Oof.
for a lot of nights at afterwards. So we both had strong work ethics, and we had our passion and drive was to put out the best product we could, but to also make the most money we could for the company. Because at the end of the day, if we're making money for the company, it's going to end up coming to us at some point. So that was our goal. We had a lot of interest in how we did on our jobs, and we took a lot of pride in it.
So the side jobs, were those company jobs, or those are Pete and Ryan side jobs? How did that work then?
Friends and family,
There you go.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah,
yeah,
it
they'd give
makes
us a
sense.
couple bucks here and
Hey,
there,
you give the
and
company all 8 hours, and you
yeah,
got some time during the day. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's impressive because a lot of people go and they kick up their boots at the end of the night, and you guys kept yours on, and that's a lot to say about how hard you guys
yeah,
worked. And frankly, at that time, and I think this is gonna come back to where you are today is when you're working a job like that, there's only so many hours in a day. I mean, there's only so many hours you can bill. I mean, at the time you're getting paid, what, 20, $30 an hour. Actually, back then, was it
I started out at $8.12
$8.12 an hour?
apprenticeship. Yeah,
Apprenticeship, yeah. And so, I mean, think about that. And then, and then you're still billing by the hour when you're doing jobs on your own and the side jobs. And, we're going to find out at some point, you realize like you can maximize how much you can make per hour doing something else, right? And you don't even count the hours anymore, I suppose.
yeah.
It's
The
just
side
get the
jobs
job done.
they're a charity, but they'd give us donations.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right. So you guys were working together. You're doing these side jobs. I mean, then how does it happen? How do you make the leap?
so we were coming into '08, call it, and we could see the company changing. It was a big company, a lot of people working. We could start seeing a lot of deficiencies throughout the company. A lot of things were changing internally, with employees, and
Was there a buyout or a merger somewhere involved? Is that how you got the
there ended
employees?
up being a buyout.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had had a lot of vested interest in the company. We wanted to see it do better, and by the time we tried to identify it to the owner, they already had a plan to get bought out.
Mhm.
And this was rolling more into the 2010, where things weren't good. People were having a really hard time. Your numbers get tighter, your margins get smaller, and that's really what started happening with the company. Is you start having to drive efficiencies so much higher, so much faster, but you were so used to doing it differently 3 or 4 years ago. So if you don't keep that real tight to you, that's where companies get in trouble. And there's a lot of companies in trouble at the time. And, fortunately enough, I think my boss at the time was able to take a buyout and go work for a company that was able to keep him going, and, give him a good retirement option and things like that. So uh, not anybody really got hurt. So we went to work for a bigger company. It was a lot bigger than we were used to working for, and we didn't really like it. Um, so we had, talked plenty of times about starting our own business.
So what was it that was it different? Was it was it the bureaucracy? Was it the kind of the relationships, the culture? What was different?
Yeah, we worked for like one of the wealthiest people in Minnesota, but we never seen him, never talked to him, didn't know him, and that really didn't fit what we were trying to do. Like, it's nice to know who you're working for and know where the money's going, and how it's coming back.
Gotcha. You guys, you definitely seem to have that family value, and you still do it in your own company today. And so, all right, so things are you're not feeling the same culture, the same values in the company you're at, and yeah, take us to the conversation then.
So we had, plenty of conversations jokingly, and then just got more serious about it, as in, we should start our own company. And we both had taken it to the point where we were getting our master's licenses and things like that to get ourselves set up in case we ever wanted to do that. But really, it was all about just what's the maximum level you can drive yourself to from a licensing standpoint and education standpoint. And that's what we did. I
And
mean,
that's master license, right?
yeah,
You're master plumbers.
yep.
Okay.
So we got to that point where we had them licenses available for us to be able to start our own business, and we ended up just doing it. we started in 2010, March of 2010. One of the worst times you could start a business, from what parents were telling us and everybody else was telling us. Like, my grandpa, still remember him to this day. Like, what are you doing? Like, you work for this company, you're getting great pay, but great benefits. Why would you leave? But we just weren't happy.
Well,
So
and that seems to be a common theme and a common thread that, most people that are considering starting their own business that have decent jobs, what they what they expect is, the people around them. What are the messages you're getting around the people around you? And I hear so often, like, surround yourself with people that are going to, help you on your goals, right? And I'm not saying it's your grandpa,
yeah,
but, even us, we grew up with, we grew up with different backgrounds, and but somewhat similar, and I grew up in a very blue collar town, and to say, you have a good job, why would you leave that? You're leaving all that behind. And, 2010, we're still feeling those tailwinds from the '08 crash. And you're hearing it, and so you're still just taking that leap, and it was, I mean, that had to have been a scary time for you. I got to
yeah,
imagine, because now all of a sudden you got only what you can earn, right?
yeah. And what we did was we just didn't pay ourselves, and let our bank account build to get to a point where we could hire an employee at some point. Our plan was to stay smaller, just do houses and cabins and things like that, provide services to the smaller market, the residential market. But what we didn't really think about is where we came from and what we could do,
Hmm.
and we didn't think it was as valuable as it was to be able to build multifamily housing to the expert level that we could do it.
And at this point, when you say build multifamily, you mean, do the plumbing and HVAC in these buildings, right?
Yeah. Yep. Do the plumbing and HVAC, but always having that innovative mindset. Like, you're looking at how the other trades could do their job better. Um, so we are always making suggestions, and our drive on the job always set the pace for other trades.
Hmm.
Like, we wanted to race to the roof. We wanted to race back down.
Hmm.
It was always about, speed and quality for us. So, and that ended up really being probably one of the best things that we could do, because getting into the residential market was tough. Like, 2010, it was just, there wasn't much going on. We ended up just having to keep lowering our prices, and got so low at one time. We had a contractor call us and ask us, can you seriously do this job for this price? And we're like, yeah,
You're
but
hungry.
we didn't know if we could or not.
So what, I mean, yeah, I mean, did you guys have one of them cool plumber vans? Is that what you used? Or, I mean, what was your
No,
machinery like?
no, yeah. So we took, we just had personal trucks, and lettered them up and put toolboxes on them and went to work.
So you had your tools, you had a few stickers,
Yep.
you had your personal trucks. Where was the office?
So the office, Pete, I was married, I had 2 kids at home. Pete wasn't married, didn't have any kids. So he had a house up in Duluth that we ended up running out of his garage, and used one of his spare bedrooms for an office.
Well, hopefully that was a good tax write-off.
I don't even think we knew what tax
You
write-offs were
probably
then.
you probably didn't.
No.
So you're running it out of Pete's second bedroom, out of a 2-bedroom house. You're running it out of his garage. Did you at least get the racks for the trucks? You could put the pipes on, or
Yeah, we got racks, and
Okay,
that
good.
was one thing about us, is we wanted to make sure we look good
Yeah,
at what we
okay.
were doing. So we probably had the nicest plumbing trucks driving around town there for a couple of
Oh,
years.
good. Well, I mean, it's all marketing, and some athletes say it doesn't matter if you play good as long as you look good. But you guys
Yeah,
did both, okay?
right.
So I mean, and that's scary. I mean, think about that. I mean, you had 2 kids, a wife, and now you're making this leap. I mean, and you guys are barely paying yourselves, and I mean, and you did it. I mean, is that, if there's something you could tell people thinking about going to that entrepreneurial leap, what can you take from that to tell, listeners, like, this is where I was. I was scared. How should, what would they want to hear from you?
Well, from my perspective, having a wife and 2 kids at home, the most important thing is make sure you got support, because there's a lot of, days I'd never seen my wife or kids, so that
Yeah,
was,
tough.
yeah, that was a lot of it for the first couple of years, and it's not like I didn't see him when I was bringing home a paycheck either, so
Yeah.
I didn't see him and I wasn't bringing home any money because, we had to build a business,
Yeah.
and, we didn't go to the SBA or the bank and say, "Hey, we need a starter loan." We essentially didn't pay ourselves and let the bank account build up, so
Scary. And so, but you did it anyway. Like,
we did it. Yep.
so,
We
I
were
mean, is that,
fortunate enough to get some, decent jobs, at that time. It was under the Obama administration. There's a lot of money getting put out for town halls and things like that. I don't know if you remember them times when,
Mhm.
all of the money, it was going into, the Buy American Act and
Public infrastructure
yeah.
funds. Yep.
So a lot of education, a lot of money getting put into education. And, that's usually what happens in the downturns. And that's how you get things, coming back up again. So we were kind of at the bottom at that point,
Hmm.
and we were feeding off of some of them jobs that were getting us support. So we were able to take advantage of that, which was big because it put us more into a commercial perspective, and also we had a local developer here that we had done some work for in the past that kind of took us under his wing really and trusted that we were going to do his project for us.
Okay.
That really started us out on a bigger scale and proved to people that we could do a
So,
bigger work.
so first step is buy the stickers and put them on the trucks,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you got to make the leap because you did it at one of the worst times possible. And I guess, that's a good testament to why you always believe you can do it, because if you can do it in a bad economy, you can do it in any economy, right?
Yeah.
But you got to do it, right? And it's make the first leap. So buy the stickers is our metaphor, I guess, for this episode.
Do it.
Yeah, and so now talk about this developer that took you. You'd done some work for him. He saw you guys did some quality work. I mean, how did that affect you guys moving forward as a business and as not only just a plumbing and HVAC business, but did you start to see things through him? Did that help?
Yeah. So, at that time, we had worked with our previous company a lot for this private developer that had been doing a lot of multifamily in the area, and he had a job coming up that we were able to put numbers together on only because he trusted that we had the ability to do it
Hmm.
just with our know-how ourselves, and trusted that we were able to build a team that could provide what he needed on that job. And it was a big job at the time for us. It was a 72 unit apartment building,
Okay.
which was in 2010, a 72 unit apartment building in the Twin Ports was unbelievable.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest job happening. If any private money was getting spent, that thing was 20 times bigger than any other private development in the area.
Now you and Pete can't do that on your own. So how did you hire? How did you get people that is that?
So we were in the union. We were signatory contractors. So at that time, we had started hiring a few people to help us out. We had enough work.
So do you call the union and they say we got some guys for you? Is that how that worked?
Tried to call our friends that we used to
Okay,
work
there
with.
you go. Yeah, you knew the good ones
Yeah.
first. Yeah. Okay.
Get a few of them that we could put our trust in, and not have to be on the job site all of the time, but also be able to be out looking for work and kind of building stuff out in front of the company.
Yeah. And okay, so you do this first job. How did it go?
It went really good. That's where we really realized that there's a lot of efficiency and repetition.
Okay.
And we had known that through working, out in the field for other companies, but we never seen kind of what it did on the numbers side. And the ability to be able to, provide a lot of efficiency and repetition and create a good work environment for everybody, I think is really important. And that's really what we still do today, is try to get to places where we can be there for long periods of time.
And so one of the things we'll get to is not only does P&R Companies have a multifamily development arm nowadays, and so what Ryan's referring to is what we do today is not only do we have that development arm, but we have a contracting arm, and we still have the plumbing and heating arm. So what he's saying is that some of the lessons he learned is still applying today. And once we get through our foundation story here, we'll start to unpack a lot of that stuff and how we construct those things. And so you learn some of these lessons doing your own job. You learn the efficiency through repetition. You learn that innovation is important. And now you guys have done this job. You finally get to eat. You get to pay yourself a little bit after this one. And so
we hired a bookkeeper, part-time bookkeeper. So now we got a couple
in
employees.
Pete's second bedroom. Is that where we put her? Okay.
Yep. So now we got a few employees. We got a bookkeeper. My wife was helping us out on payroll and things like that. So we were a real company. We had employees. We had employees, and we were making it happen. So
I remember, now I know it's not this 72 unit specifically, but, Pete and I grew up together. His older brother and I were best friends growing up. And by the time we're all in our 20s, we're kind of hanging out together because they're only a couple years apart. And so I remember one of my proud Chisholm guy moments. This is before I knew you. Is I'm driving through Duluth and I see P&R Plumbing and Heating, a big old sign on a fence in front of a construction site. And this was the ND Apartments.
Oh, yeah.
And so I thought to myself, they're doing it, man. This is cool. And so, and between the 72 unit and so, for our listeners, this ND Apartment it's a nice building. It's right on Lake Superior. It's got these fantastic views. And for me, as I saw these guys building this big, beautiful building, and I knew the guys that were doing a major part of it, it was really neat from a community standpoint to see you guys doing such a cool building on a cool location. And a big part of real estate is cool, right? I mean, the cool factor is it's a thing. And so, how many buildings had you done before then? And had you gotten into multifamily building your own yet by that point?
So kind of rolling off of, that first big building we did, it gave us a reputation to let others know that we could do that size of work. At that point, there was still a lot of competition in the multifamily, but there was a lot of value to be provided still. And we were providing value by our efficiencies, and our innovation we were able to get our numbers to a point that was attractive to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably wouldn't have picked us if we were 10% lower, but we were probably 25 or 30% lower than some others. So I think that's how it goes when you're a new business, and you don't have a good reputation of
it's economics,
your quality and, your efficiency. You're kind of getting looked at by your price tag. Like, how do we not take these guys?
Yeah.
How do we not take a risk for this savings?
So not only are we providing this great price reduction, but you got it done fast and just as good as anybody else.
Yeah.
If not better. Right?
I would say that we're providing Class A service at that time. So, we rolled out of there. We started really looking at multifamily hard then. It was like, this is our niche. We need to stay in it. We've been in it since 2002. We've been doing multifamilies continuously throughout our whole career. Let's consider this our niche and let's go after it. And let's see how we can provide a better service and better quality to any job that we do. So we started really, going after every multifamily project that was out there. We were really successful at it. It did take a while for us to break into, call it the pool of contractors there wasn't many people in the pool in the Twin Ports for the generals to pick from, just because there was only a trusted amount of contractors. So we got in that pool. We started doing a lot of work. Then when you're growing, though, people are looking at your financials and all of a sudden it's like you're getting to jobs that it doesn't matter if you're the best quality and the best price.
Mm-hmm.
They're mitigating risk because of the project sizes. So we came up against our first, issue with us not being financially stable enough because we just hadn't had the time. We were a 3-year-old company. We're trying to put a bid in on call it a $2 million project. This company is out of Minneapolis looking at our financials going, there's no way that we could take these guys. There's too much risk.
And afford it, right?
The owner's, he's voting for us. But he's also telling us, guys, that I gotta go with what the general says here. There's risk. I can't take this risk on myself. So we ended up, getting into that challenge of our career where we didn't have the financials that would allow us to get to the next step where we wanted to go.
So it feels like a rock and a hard place. Like you're sitting here, they're going, you guys don't have the financials, but then you're going, well, how do we get the financials if we don't get the big jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you tackle that then?
So then, we just went after it head first and just started going for relationships and being like getting our name out there and showing people that we could provide a level of service that nobody else can. And just because we don't have the financials back behind us, like put your trust in us. And that's really what we went for after that.
Here you are in a spot in your career now. You've made the entrepreneurial jump. You've started building. You've got a reputation for quality. You guys are the best in town. You're the fastest. You're the most efficient. And it's still not enough. So now you have to make that next step to get to the next level. And I think that's a great spot to start our second episode. I think we'll start talking about how we made that next step. That's the end of our first episode. We thank you for listening, listeners, and thanks for being here, Ryan. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.